When we were racing karts, my morning breakfast would be a Red Bull and an apple. And it was just go to the driver's meeting with a Red Bull and apple and hope you don't have a heart attack in the first practice.
That's wild. My dad would slap me if I had that.
Oh, our parents would too, probably.
Yeah.
They knew.
They didn't really know about energy drinks back then, like mid 2000s or early 2000s.
It was all new.
Yeah, you'd go through the States and stop at like a gas station and pick up a Red Bull or pick up something.
Yeah.
And they'd be like super high caffeine content and you'd be all like jittery and shit while you're driving down the highway. Yeah.
No, I remember when I was a kid and Red Bull was like a big thing. Well, it still is. I brought home a Red Bull and I was working on one of my cars, and my dad like saw a Red Bull in my hand. He said, "What the hell is that?" Because it looked like a beer, right? Like one of those small whatever beers. And he's like, "Why are you drinking? It's like 2 p.m. And also, you're not even legal age. Where did you buy it from?" I was like, "No, Dad, it's an energy drink. You know, this and that."
It's a whole new segment.
Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of the Flat Tyre. Today we're actually at the TWOth Autosport Lounge here at Calabogie Motorsports Park, and we're going to chat today with Trevor and Travis. They're brothers. That's actually why the name TWOth came from. So why don't you guys introduce both of yourself?
I'm Trevor Hill. I'm 37. Been around racing for probably since we were in a womb somewhere, watching Formula One races with our father.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I'm Travis, Trevor's brother. 34, should be 35 sometime this summer. We race cars all the time. This was a dream for us to get to this place. Now we just get to work together and figure out what the next car, the next event we're doing, and have fun. So
that's cool. So like, when you guys were growing up, did you guys realize that you would have the name TWOth?
Not even close.
No. So how did like TWOth morph into like?
So when we were racing karts, everything we did was called Hill Motorsports because our father was around and did a bunch of stuff. And then when the internet really started to boom and you start kind of Googling things like, well, Hill Motorsports is used on many other things, so we can't really use that. So we kind of looked around. At one point, we kind of called ourselves TNT Racing because it was pretty dynamite.
Yeah.
But that didn't... yeah, when you look that one up as well, I was like,
the embarrassment of Travis right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's open this up with a really good dad joke.
Hey, gotta continue those going.
Yeah.
But no, it was just one of those where I remember we were sitting on the couch, we were living in Stittsville, and we were trying to figure out, we had to incorporate the business. And we had a whole bunch of different businesses kind of going on, different things that we were doing with street cars and race cars and everything else. We were trying to figure out what we could do. And it kind of turned into one of those, we needed to build one business, a corporation, as like a holding company, and then all the other businesses kind of fill into that. And it was, I don't know how we came about it. We were just playing around with initials and everything else. And
we had nth degree. First it was the nth degree because we were doing a lot of different things in motorsports, street cars, coaching, driving, mechanical work. So to amalgamate it all was the nth degree. So the way we approach motorsports was like that. And it was a little too generic when we were thinking of something that was going to be unique as a brand name. Because I was looking at it as, we've been doing this our whole lives so far. We want to invest in ourselves and build a brand. And what brand would identify with us, as long as we would continue going and for everything we do regarding automotive performance products.
And even the brand, even if it didn't involve Trevor and Travis, it could still continue, right? When you call it like Hill Motorsports or Trevor Racing, if you didn't continue, the brand dies. Well, if Trevor and Travis or one of us or both of us don't, TWOth can still continue because it still carries its own brand. So that was one of those ideas that we had in our heads, that it can't be something that's locked to us, but it has a connotation to us.
Because our goal and part of the direction where we want to go and what we would like to build is not just a brothers, these two guys show up and help you race your car kind of thing. It was building a bigger idea, a motorsport group that could, plant roots in Canada, plant roots in Ottawa or Calabogie area that could do real impactful things. And that meant building a team and trusting in people and having management systems. And really approaching it like a proper business. So as a proper business, we wanted all of our guys on the team to be able to wear the brand with pride and feel like they were a part of it too. So TWOth is 2TH, but really it's about the brotherhood, the collective of everybody working together towards something, and really trying to drive that idea forward.
That's really cool. That's awesome. Because I know back to like what was this 4 years ago, you guys had the smaller shop right behind like the main office.
Yep.
And now you guys have developed into a team where you have, I think, 8 to 10 people like, continuously around the clock, like working with you guys, and working together as a team. And now you have that massive shop. Like that's so cool.
It
like,
is.
yeah, like I saw like the shop development when it was just like a concrete slab, and now it's like you got
Full.
these yeah, you got radicals in there, TCR cars, you got TCA cars. I don't even know what else you guys have
Lots
in there.
of stuff.
Yeah, special project division. We've got a lot of cars being stored in trailers right now. I mean, it's been really cool to be part of the whole community here at Calabogie. And that's the beauty of having a place like this to go and drive and build the hobby for everybody and really build that sports industry for our market. And as Calabogie continued to grow, we naturally grew with it. More clients are coming in. People that are driving on track here at Calabogie or from the Ottawa area are now realizing this can be more like organized sports, and we need a proper infrastructure to support that and to support the entire industry as it moves forward. Not everybody wants to go and race at the pinnacle in North America or in the world. They want to enjoy their hobby, but we can still help each other and help that community as it progresses. So as Calabogie's grown, we've been very fortunate to be able to grow with it. We started in the first building, was actually the Suites building. We had a single garage with a client, and then it moved up to 2 garages there. Then the new office building was built, the solar building. We moved into there with 2 garages, moved up to 4. And our model, the business model for us, storing the cars for our clients as well, because they're going to need a place to put them or they need to transport them home every night. That has allowed us to scale it as our whole team has scaled, and keeps us a bit less at risk for managing the financials of it all and trying to plan and scale that business.
Okay.
So as we've gone up to this larger building now, initially you don't think you're going to fill it, and now you spend too much time pushing cars around every morning just so you get access to the other cars to be able to work on them.
So we're already planning the next building.
Yeah.
That's wild. Like it's super cool to see a grassroots team. I don't know if you guys were considered grassroots when you first started.
100%.
Yeah.
Going into such like a developed and professional league of racing. So let me just actually take it back a little bit. So how did you guys get into the world of motorsport? I know you mentioned that watching Formula One with your dad as a kid. So is that how you got into that kind of world? Is that
it would be his issue, his addiction to motorsports. Our father was definitely a tinkerer and always around different racing forms of racing, from Formula One stuff to oval track, dirt racing, boats, motorcycles. He was into it. He always
Can-Am cars,
Can-Am
British race cars,
exactly.
bikes.
So there's all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely his passion, his drive that kind of got us into it. And when we were little kids, and actually probably even before that, he was racing karts around the Ottawa area. So back then it was called the National Capital Kart Club, NCKC. And so he was part of that in the 80s. And then when kids come around, you don't have time for that. So he kind of stopped that. But we wanted to do that. So he gave us the idea that, I think we were 10 and 12. And if you go cut grass and you make money off of your grandparents, your aunts and uncles and everybody else, he'll match it and we'll buy our first go-kart. And that's how it kind of started. So we each got our go-kart 96, 97 timeline. And then we started racing at Mosport with their kart club first. And we would travel from the Ottawa area there for racing. And that just, the karting kind of just kept going and going and going. So yeah, we raced karts 10 years probably, from the lowest levels of 2-stroke racing. We never did 4-stroke stuff, but 2-stroke racing all the way up to shifter karts. And then we raced around pretty much North America. Daytona, Atlanta, Virginia. We would go anywhere.
As we ran the local racing series in the Ontario region, and then got into the Snow Run Fellows series. which still exists, still really does a great job developing Canadian karters to get them into cars and progress their careers. For us, the manufacturer of karting that we were working with, we had a good opportunity to work with a manufacturer, and their primary focus was what was called the US Road Racing Series. So that took us to big sports car tracks where we would run the shifters at a big track, like the Rolex track at Daytona and Road Atlanta and things like that. So
that must have been terrifying.
It was sick.
And in a good way, you know?
Yeah, it was cool. They were 125 two-stroke shifter karts, so we'd be pushing a little over 50 horsepower, and you could see well over 110 miles an hour, and you'd get like a 10-kart draft pack bump drafting on the high banks of Daytona, like that's flat crazy. Out tucked in as much as you can. So you learn about aero, you learn about setups and stuff like that. So
with just because are those the karts with like crazy wings or anything? Just normal cart?
Those karts ran in that series.
Okay.
So you had the super karts, which were 250s, or a little bit bigger, depending on 4-stroke, 2-stroke. That was kind of during a transition. Okay. And they had all carbon fiber bodywork or fiberglass and worked on aero. Ours were CIK based karts, which are like the standard sprint race karts that you would see. We could do certain modifications for the higher speeds, but tried to keep it within a normal homologated kind of structure.
Okay.
So we while we were doing the karting, to make money as kids, we would still coach and tune for other racers. So we would race on the national level and then help regional level drivers that were either working with that manufacturer or through other connections, still working in the Canadian karting scene as well. So that gave us a mechanical understanding, a coaching, experience working with other drivers, helping them get faster, which really helped a lot now as we've created a business with cars and need to do that same thing, transition drivers into new cars, into racing for the first time, learning about the physics, what's happening while they're driving, what their inputs do. And that kind of fueled a lot of that starting point for helping people here at Calabogie and then ultimately growing into what's TWOth Autosport.
That's wicked. Like I always wanted to get into karting as a kid. It's pricey, so kudos to you guys and your dad for like pushing you to figure out a way to actually fund it. That's sick.
And we continued the funding of it like that. Like Travis said, we would work to offset. Our dad helped us in the mindset of he only took care of the motorhome. Mm-hmm. We took care of the trailer and the contents in the trailer. Okay. So if the go-karts were not ready before a race weekend, we're not going. Yeah. He wasn't going to work on it if we weren't. So only we had access to the keys to the trailer. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't do anything with it. So you taught you to be mindful of time and preparation. Sure, we would give him a list. Hey, we need these supplies, maybe. But no, it made us be mindful of how we prepared physically for the carts and for what we needed. And if we showed up at a race 10, 15 hours away and you're missing a 50-cent piece, our dad would look at you kind of go, you had your opportunity, like this is on you, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we kind of carried it in through this for what we do with TWOth now. It's like when we go to Florida and we go with everything, we have a massive box that we carry down the road, but you bring as much as you can because you don't want to have a customer lose out on a weekend for a $2, $10, $100 part because you didn't carry or you can't get. Mm-hmm. It was a mindset that started many, many years ago that we've continued now.
Yeah. Wow. So the question that I have for the two of you, who was faster in a kart?
Trevor usually actually, being 2 years older, did a lot of the next level racing.
Yeah, because we never raced against each other a lot.
Oh, okay. No. So different.
We were usually in just different classes, and I think our father did that kind of on purpose. So we did
more cost effective.
It was more There were a few opportunities where we did race in the same class. They kind of ended. Well, we can laugh about him now, but I bet you at the time Travis wasn't happy. I think I moved him out of the way for a win once.
Tried to kill his brother on a racetrack just for a 10-cent trophy.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, 100%. I moved him, just got the nose underneath him and moved him out of the way and got the win. Put him through the grass. But no, we didn't race against each other.
He still does that with our clients, by the way.
I do.
Apologize to Ryan and the Spec Miata race from last time. I think you put him on the outside.
That's true. I forgot about that. He lifted when he probably shouldn't have.
Oh no.
When you get used to driving with people, you have a respect for one another. It's not about, you shouldn't have had that spot. I should have, stuff like that. It's more of a chess match in terms of, I've got track position on you, and you can either take a risk to try to defend that track position or leave me that track position, leave the lane clear, and then we have a battle. And with him and I mean, we've been driving side by side in go-karts, Mustangs, Civics, Miatas, Audis, Radicals, whatever it is. So there's a certain level of trust that we don't, it's an unspoken communication while you're on track with somebody. Right. In times, those margins just get a little bit tighter. In this case, with the karting, it got really tight. And maybe exchanged some plastic and some rubber. It was all good.
0% bumper margin. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So after karting and progressing through those classes with NC, TC, was that when you guys went into the Miata stuff that you have now, or was it the Civics, or where'd you go from there?
We didn't. I'll say personally, I was not expecting a car career. I didn't think that was in the cards for us. We did not have the funding. It just wasn't expected. Would have loved to. Passionate, got into building cars and doing engine swaps in our street cars when we were in high school and stuff like that. But it wasn't until 2005, 2006 that I got a random email to potentially jump into a Porsche and start into cars. Hindsight, that's a big jump. And I love Porsche, obviously, and great cars, but for a karter to understand all of the physics that were happening is a bit of a leap of faith.
Well, as a driver, even, I was talking to somebody else about this not too long ago. I remember being out west with Travis for that opportunity. We didn't even know how to heel toe.
No.
Because we were teenagers. So you expect to get into a Porsche race car, not a street car, a race car.
996, like Coney, so IMSA car.
Okay. Yeah. And you had to understand how to drive all this. Not only Travis and myself, never driven something with that much weight, slicks on a car. We never went through HPD stuff. We never did anything. We had the racecraft. We understood how to probably race, but not with a cage and a roof over your head and 3,500 pounds of mass and an H-pattern gearbox with 3 pedals on the floor and a radio in your helmet. Like all of those things that were going on. But Travis went out and did the test. And I remember, I think we borrowed a BMW from one of the coaches, and we drove around Mission, BC, like in the surrounding area, learning how to heel toe in a street car because couldn't do it on the racetrack or waste the time you were doing. So but those sort of things that we got plucked out of, Travis specifically got plucked out of karting and into a car. Go, cool, show what you could do. It's like probably not the smartest as we look at it now, but it was an opportunity. And you had to take the opportunity.
Yeah, it was just like a random email. I thought it was spam at first, but it was a Canadian team that was trying to build up a driver lineup for doing Grand Am races. They had specifically targeted the 24 Hours of Daytona, do a couple of those with their GT3 Cup. So they used the Coney cars to help develop drivers. Coney is what's the Michelin Pilot Challenge now. So these were 996, not Porsche 911s, but built as a proper race car. So to get that opportunity was really cool, and to see a potential to fast track into the Rolex series at the time, or the Grand Am series it was called, was great. I was in college for graphic design and had done a few of the courses that I really wanted, and still had enough of my student line of credit that I was able to use the line of credit to go pay for the test. And then hope that it worked out. Our parents kind of laughed and said, well, that's kind of like your tuition. So you guys have been in racing for quite a while. You may as well take the risk and then commit to what could we do in this industry? Could we make a career out of this?
That must have been a very sketchy feeling.
I was too young and stupid to realize how risky it was.
No, you took it as an opportunity. Cool, we get to go to Vancouver. We got to go on an airplane. We got to stay. I don't remember. Did we stay in a hotel?
In the hotel, yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun experience, but you don't understand the opportunity until a few years later, right?
Well, we're also like 17 and 19 or 18 and 20, so you're like, parents let you go off to BC on your own. Yeah. Okay,
it's party time.
Not too much party. Fortunately, we were with racing. Our dad was pretty strict that anytime if there was any alcohol or drugs or anything like that, like the show's over. So we were.
We never grew up around that stuff.
Trained pretty well, but it was nice because why care about going partying? Well, having fun with your friends was still important, but your priority was more on, well, I've got a big race next weekend. I've got this and this to prep for. I've got more important things to worry about than going and getting drunk with my friends. So let's rebuild the motor or take the cart apart and make sure it's going to be quick next week, because I've got a national championship I'm chasing. So.
Oh, that's cool. So that 996 that you drove after that test weekend was successful. I'm assuming it was.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
we did a few more of those throughout that summer. Got into the GT3 car, got comfortable learning some of that stuff too. Got along really well with the team, the coaches, team owner. I think, again, our understanding and interest in the mechanicals and in the physics, like in school, I don't bother speaking for Trevor, but I know for myself, I'm not that engaged in school in a basic physics class or something like that. But when it was kinesthetic, when you could feel it and learn, like we were curious to really bring in that information and learn it and understand. So when we got the opportunity to play with that stuff and see what that meant, what spring rates did, what sway bars were doing, and then having someone that we had communicated together through karting the whole time, so we could understand what that meant in our brains and discuss it a little bit and make adjustments if need be, or it just really helped speed up that learning process to have somebody that you've developed with your whole life and could start to really understand those systems.
Oh, that's cool. So after learning all that, at what point was it that, hey, we should start our own race team? Like what?
Still a few years out.
Still,
really?
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
at that point, then Travis would have come back and Calabogie would have opened. And
2011, or something.
No, this is 2006 or 2007.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah,
like right when the paving was done here, and
he had some opportunities to talk to different people that were coming up. Jim Hod not being one.
Yeah, we're in our lounge is the old Speed Merchants lounge. So
okay.
Jim through Canada Ford built the Mustangs for Calabogie, the initial cars through their dealership, and his passion was in Porsche racing as well. So as a Porsche driver then, and having throughout the learning experience with Bullet, we did the 24 Hours of Daytona a couple times with a big Canadian flag on the car, and it looked great. It was great for Canadian motorsport. So then to come to Calabogie and offer coaching or wanted to get into this industry here, worked with Jim and Perry Bortolotti to come out and start doing some track days with those two guys, and then slowly building up. Okay, there's coaching. This is a job you can get. Wow, I can actually, put a little bit of money in my pocket while I stay at a racetrack and get to keep driving and meet people. Of course, I want to come and do this and see how I can make this as sustainable as possible. So it started through the coaching, and then as it was building up, Calabogie, we'd get some clients that, okay, we're going to coach. What are your longer term goals? Because you can really spin yourself in circles, not literally, well, literally and figuratively, when it comes to cars, because there's so many types of products and performance parts you can get, but if you don't understand how they work together and how that feels then as a driver, when you make those adjustments, you can get yourself stuck pretty quick, or just get frustrated and not understand what's going on. And then that client leaves the industry. And selfishly for us, it was, well, we don't want you to leave the industry. We want to set up your plan to be as successful as possible so you can learn properly. You're not frustrated. You're not spending money that you don't need to. And then you can build from there. So there were a few clients with cars that required mechanical work. We started doing a little bit of that. Then as the Mustang program started growing here at Calabogie, they needed a mechanic to come and help manage that fleet of cars and service them, understanding what happens with cars on track. And that's where an opportunity came for Trevor to move back to Ottawa and come and start working up at Calabogie with me.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So you, in a way, you went more driver's side, you went more mechanical side.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Exactly?
Well, that's it. So that's actually, that makes a lot of sense foundation wise for a race team.
Yeah.
That's like you're managing drivers, you're managing cars,
Yeah.
so it makes it easy.
Yeah, the creation of the race team was just over time. Then the next few years, adding more clients and figuring out what we wanted to do, we realized we needed to incorporate just as a business, properly managing taxes, expenses, legalities, just safety and a bit of risk management for ourselves, God forbid anything happened, and start to really get serious about building this. We had opportunity. Calabogie was growing. Now was the time to start showing what we could do.
Yeah, that's cool. And then you continued to race with Porsche? With it, or not so much?
I stuck around with Bullet for a few races and a couple seasons. Okay. Then, so their team name was Bullet Racing out of Vancouver. I wanted to stick with Porsche strategically as a brand. Just the brand is built on motorsports. Their whole history is about building cars to go win competitions and then making them homologated and being able to sell that as a street car. And now obviously the brand has grown and there's a lot of different products, but still to the core, that's the fundamental design plan, is something very capable, an engineering company that can build a performance vehicle. So we wanted to stay with that, and the customers that own Porsches that could relate could then support a driver in that market. So strategically was sticking with Porsche. TRG, the Racers Group, was another team based out of California, and they had a lot of experience in Grand Am and in some of the larger pro level races. So at a certain point, I felt that a Grand Am team like TRG was going to have a little bit more of an opportunity for me to develop, as opposed to being with a team that depended on any revenue that I could potentially bring in just to make it work. To work with a team that was already running, already had engineers, mechanics. They ran 5 cars at the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona for multiple years in a row, winning and multiple podiums, and really were the customer racing team to emulate. Everyone has different practices depending on where they're from and histories and stories. But for me, that was a really big foundation to look at motorsport as a business model, like a customer racing. If these guys want to come in and go racing, you need that facility, you need that support system to be able to transport them, to manage the cars properly, to manage the relationships with the manufacturer. In Europe, you see it quite well. That industry is developed quite nicely, and there's a lot of support systems. There's a lot of customer racing teams. So seeing that and seeing the Canadian market, saw a pretty good opportunity to try to learn, develop properly as a driver, build our credibility, and continue focusing on a business up here at Calabogie.
Oh, that's a lot of things happening.
through that experience, and working with Porsche, or with a Porsche team, and then coaching here in 2011 when Porsche was planning the Porsche World Road Show. So this Porsche as a manufacturer, before Porsche Canada was really established, they would have every, I think, 4 years what was called the World Road Show, where they would bring the entire model lineup of cars, book a very nice venue for a certain number of days. They were booking Calabogie for, I think, 14 days, 14 event days, and then additional setup days where they had like multiple of every car, and they needed an additional coach that knew the area. So I came in as an off-road coach, just understanding physics and what was going on, and started to integrate with the Porsche Canada team and the Porsche World Roadshow group, and then got an opportunity to start coaching with Porsche. So that was 2011. Been over 10 years now that I've been with Porsche as a factory certified coach. So going from Finland, doing the ice experience there, to the ice experience in Canada for the last, I think we're almost 10 years now. All of our track experiences, some dealer training stuff, product launches, things like that. So for me, that was a dream to have that and be able to work that relationship with Porsche and Calabogie and really build the foundation, again, continuing to grow TWOth.
Yeah, that's a wicked. And then in the meantime, you were manning cars.
Manning the shop. So during most of that time early on, I would be working for Calabogie.
Okay.
And I would be working on all of the Mustangs, making sure that they were up to snuff, doing all of the hot lap experiences, all the Mustang experiences. On the side, somehow they figured out that I had a bit of a background in accounting, so I started doing some books for Calabogie in a interim kind of process while they were going between bookkeepers. So I kind of got to hone a little bit of the stuff that I learned in college and use some of the stuff that I'm passionate about. And it was around that sort of time that we kind of started TWOth. with a few customers. But again, you still had to work on your own work while the business is growing. And it wasn't until 2014, 2015 where we could stop almost everything else that we're doing and focus on TWOth, because now we have enough business. Okay. So by 2014, 2015, now we're in one of the other buildings. I don't remember which at that point. And we're full-time at TWOth. We're 2, maybe 3 of us working on customer vehicles, but then starting all the Honda stuff for Champ Car.
Honda stuff.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing there's a lot of Honda stuff. Like what did we build? 18 Civics?
18 now, yeah.
We had built
EK
and sold.
or EGs.
Yeah.
So it's not just the same thing
No, there's new cars that got sold to people build. Like the OB Prestige guys, 3 to 5 cars. Yeah. Over the years.
3 initially, but then backups and
backups or wrecked cars and replacements. The Verdun Window guys had 3 cars, I think, 2 or 3 at one point. A few other local guys had, onesies, twosies here and there. We always kept 2, sometimes 3 on hand in our shop that customers would own but keep with us. Okay. Yeah. I think we're down to, there's only 3 chassis left in our shop from that group. And then there's a few kind of scattered around in other places. Sweet. We need to see those in 20, 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah, those are going to be future classics.
Yeah,
they already are classics.
Yeah. You got a clean 92 EG hatch without any rust on it.
We're always looking. We're always looking for other cars, because if you find a clean one that someone doesn't want an arm and 2 legs for, there's another shell that you can build another race car in, because our blueprint's still there. We still know what we need to do. It's just putting it in the queue of when do we want to start doing that.
And that was really the start or the development of our driver development program, our customer racing team. It was when Champ Car first came, or it was called Chump Car when it first came to Calabogie. We saw about this series and thought, okay, well, it's a good opportunity to build a car and start renting seats to our customers, as opposed to just building or working on their cars for them. Let's look at owning some assets as a business so we can manage that properly, set it up the way we want it to be done, and then teach them with our vehicles. So we built an EK hatchback. It was my college street car. So we were EGs and EK hatchbacks as high school and college cars for us. Nice. Built that into a race car. Had a few guys jump in, clients of ours, race with us at the time. And then it was just development. And because we've been kind of raised in motorsports, it's always just a constant grind of how can you make it faster next time? How can we get a little bit quicker? And it's a common story a lot of people and enthusiasts find themselves in when they start doing lapping and or drifting or anything, right? What's the next thing? Well, I don't have that much money, but how can I make it a little better? So we would continuously do that. And then a couple of clients said, can you build me a car? Okay. And then we'd continue working on ours. And as we would develop new systems for that car, transfer it over to customer cars. Say, hey guys, we found a 1.5 seconds with this update. Do you want us to do it? Yeah. Cool. And then trickles down into
at one point when we had 8-10 cars that we were managing, Hondas.
Running consistently.
Yeah. If you did an update, you could sell that 10 times like that. Because if we had out beat them, and sometimes it was beating our own customers on skill and driving, but sometimes it was just on the update that we've done to the car or whatever it was for reliability issues that you sold it immediately. So it worked out really, really well.
Yeah, it would help cover some of our R&D costs that we otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. And now as the whole group, we get better. And if we think of it as a team mentality like that, and we keep the information in-house and we help each other, we'll all get better. Yes, on track, it'll depend on strategy and the drivers you have in the car, but we also offer that service to help those drivers get better, right? And if we're all in similar equipment, we can download the data, overlay it together. We're walking the talk at the same time, and then can help educate the driver and then bring them up to speed. Yeah. And in endurance racing, you learn a lot of things. It brings a lot of the driving together because you're in the car for 2 hours. So if you're making a mistake, you'll really notice it by the end of 2 hours.
Oh yeah. So are you continuing that R&D with your current fleet? Similar kinds of things?
Never ends.
Never
ends. Okay.
It's just really prioritizing where we have bandwidth sometimes. But we just did a Champ Car race at Watkins Glen. We pulled out one of our latest EKs And the intention was just Trevor and I running it with James, one of our drivers who's been racing that car specifically, and just figure out where the car's at. We love the chassis. Every time we get back into it, it's a blast to drive. Yeah. But now we're planning a motor swap soon to change it again and try to rejuvenate some of our 90s Civics, just to get away from some of the reliability issues dealing with 20 and 30-year-old engines and components. Try to modernize the drivetrain and make them a fun toy again.
What are you? Are you swapping in like K20s and all that kind of stuff just from other?
Our
Hondas?
cars right now, the model is B series, B swaps. But we're looking to make another change. K is obviously a really good way to go. With the new TCA Civics that we race now, so we run the new 2022 cars in FEL. We really like the L15 motor that they're running, the 1.5 liter turbo. So we're specifically looking at doing that
retrofit,
and
that
trying to
be
put
cool.
that,
would be,
put the modern drivetrain in.
Not
the
a lot
car.
of people that everybody does K swaps, and K swaps are easy. K swaps are nice. There's so much information out there, but it's nice to be different. And I think there's enough components out there that we don't have to engineer this thing to death, but there's still probably a load of work to be done to the car in order to put that L15 in. But I think it'll be a lot of fun.
There'll be a lot of power out of something that doesn't weigh anything.
Yeah, I haven't weighed the motors to compare what it is to a K series, but you know, a K20 usually 200 horse and 135 foot-pounds of torque, you know, stock, and a K24 maybe 210 and 165. Well, an L15, much smaller displacement, little turbo on it, but they're 200 horse, 200 foot-pounds. Don't touch it. Like for a 2,200 pound car, that's more than enough, and that's stock. So if they could do 200, 300,000 kilometers street, we could probably get, and I'm making it up, maybe 100,000 kilometers on the track, which is years and years of racing.
Because what, you're doing maybe 50 kilometers per race?
Depends on the race. If we're doing champ car,
if you're doing champ car,
we're running 12 to 24 hours in a weekend. So you're putting down some serious time on them.
And we're usually lucky, the way the B series all worked out, if you got 100 hours out of a motor, you were doing well and rebuild it. But 100 hours, if you do 3 24-hour weekends, 4 24-hour weekends, you've hit your limit, right? And that could be a season. I think we could probably push 200 to 300 hours in a motor easily. And not even
the labor cost gets, we have to make a living to do that work on the engines. If we can find a solution that is more reliable, lasts longer, and is cheaper, that we can just hot swap it, just get a long block and put it in, and then maybe refresh later or sell off the motor. It's more cost effective for our customers. And at the end of the day, we're not looking to just pump in shop hours. We're looking to be efficient and get cars on track, right? Our value add is helping drivers go fast and go racing, not sitting in the shop turning wrenches. It's essential. It's part of the business, but we aren't focused on trying to do that. We just want to find a good package. And often, as you see with homologated race cars, the TCAs, the TCRs, they're sealed engines. We can't do anything with them. And sometimes as racers, it's probably better if we just leave that stuff alone. So your engine will still work throughout the race, or at least worst case, you can go straight to Honda or whatever manufacturer and say, hey, this broke. Can you help me with this? And you build a relationship based off the engineering and development that they've already done. Much easier to change parts and keep people on track.
No, that's super cool. I like the way that the automotive industry is going with like the enthusiasts. They're taking older vehicles like what you guys are thinking and slapping like newer power plants in it.
Love it.
I've seen a few of those like retro mods with like Tesla power plants, which is, it's cool.
Pickup trucks with Teslas in them? Like
old. Robert Downey Jr. is doing a bunch of them I saw online.
I think so. Like, that's like very on brand for him, like the Iron Man, kind of thing. Would you guys ever race an EV?
I'd race anything.
Yeah. I'd race tricycles if we could.
That's fair.
Doesn't matter.
That's
like, hey, we always joke with other even customers, like, we don't care what it is, 4 wheels, 3 wheels. We kind of, some of us stay away from 2 wheels, just it's probably a little safer on our heads. But no, it doesn't matter as long as it's competitive, right? We don't care. We raced pedal carts when we were kids. That's just what you did. So no, well, it doesn't matter. EV cars. I think the struggle right now with EV stuff is the insurance side of things at racetracks. That will make it difficult over the next little while to push this through.
Yeah, the infrastructure.
Hybrid, yes. Hybrid vehicles, I think, is probably going to be what you see kind of racing. But it still has its own limitations, even on electricity and gloves and how you have to depower a car before you work on it. So there are some technical challenges, but no, we're going that direction. But you're not going to eliminate a internal combustion engine. I don't think yet. I don't think our world is there yet.
No, it's like Travis said, like even the infrastructure for like charging. Hot swapping batteries, that's going to be very difficult.
Yeah. But, take Calabogie, for example. Like, okay, we've got 2 chargers. What happens when we need to do a fleet of cars? Then you have to do 10 or 15 or 20. And then what? Superchargers? You're going to take more power than the entire, Lanark County has. It's a challenge. So
we're not there yet as a society, but it'll come.
So if you go to hybrid swap anything that you have in the fleet right now, what would it be?
As a like special project?
Because you have a special projects division, right?
Yeah.
So within that division, if you had a platform that you could hybrid swap, anything that you had in the shop now, what would it be, and what power plant would it be?
The Civics would be cool, like an old Honda. Cool.
Just take like an old CRZ engine platform and put that into one of the new Civics. So you get the hybrid or an Insight. They didn't make a lot of power, but at least you have a hybrid. But again, I think the industry's not there in terms of battery reproduction for those 10-year-old cars.
Right.
So where are we at for that? Like, it's not like we can go to a Benson's or a Napa or Canadian Tire and buy a battery bank.
Yeah.
Right. So when you get those 10, 15-year-old cars that they've been in hybrids, Priuses and everything else, where do you get the batteries?
Yeah.
Except for the OE. And the OE is probably going to charge you, and I'm guessing, I haven't looked this up, $5,000 to $15,000. It's worth more than the car.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense at this point. So I think some battery technology has to come around a little bit in terms of reselling and repurposing. But probably not long.
Yeah.
That'd be cool though.
Yeah.
Or just wait for the new Porsche electric race car, which is, I think they were just testing the new GT4 RS on the Nordschleife.
Full
electric. I forget the name of the car. Not Mission E, Mission R. Can't remember. But
is this like the same platform that the Taycan uses? But
essentially a Cayman chassis, full electric race car.
Oh, okay, that's wicked.
It looked pretty cool.
That's gonna be kind of scary for marshals because if that like you can't hear it, and then also if that catches fire, like how do you douse that?
That's the challenge I think that we're gonna see.
Yeah.
From a technology perspective, it's really cool. We had a buddy that I coach with, Steph Rosinski, that did the Jaguar E-Pace electric race series, which would run alongside, I think it was alongside the Formula E at some events. And he said it was eerie because you'd race against someone on a street course down the back straightaway, and you can yell at the guy because you can't hear anything. Or you have no engine sound. You hear brakes and you hear tires and stuff, but other than that, it's fairly quiet. So
you can just like through the helmet, just yell at them, scare the shit out of them.
That's crazy. I didn't really think of that, but I guess as like if you go from like you could practice that kind of style of driving on a sim in a way. You turn off all the engine noises and all that, and you listen for the tire squeal and everything. Right?
Yeah, in an electric vehicle, you don't have gears.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like you're listening for an RPM or a harmonic to when to shift. It's an electric motor.
Yeah.
Right. So they usually just have the one gear and
focus on your visual reference points, brake application, trail, where
you
your
don't have a
apex
clutch
is.
pedal.
I feel like just me as a driver, I like to listen to those points of shifting because it helps me time what I'm going to do.
It's huge.
So like,
timing thing too.
Sound is a big part of driving, and just hearing the RPM when your shift point is. You don't have to watch your shift lights.
Yeah.
Knowing when you're coming into a corner where you like to blip and do your downshift, how much of a blip you're able to get, how much RPM as you make that down. Like there's so many things coming in that your brain is processing for you that as you start removing some of those senses, it changes the way you drive.
Yeah, and it'd be really cool to try it. I I don't know if I could do it. 'Cause, they're trying to take away some of the enjoyment. But I think, I don't know.
It's
Maybe I just haven't
different. I
tried it,
think
though.
you look at a car for us is a tool to get the job done, and the job is trying to go around in circles as fast as we can without throwing up. And the tool is just a different tool, so you use it differently and you enjoy it differently.
Yeah.
We've taken the Taycons, the e-tron GTs, Audi, working with Audi as a customer racing team, gave us access to a couple e-tron GTs to put customers in, to play with, to test on track. It's awesome. Like you can't deny the torque and what the electric motors can do in the amount of fun. You just drive it slightly different, like going from a Miata rear wheel drive to a Civic front wheel drive. You just have to think about that and be able to change your driving style.
Cool. That's wicked. I know you guys have racing to get done today. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No
You got some time?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you guys, the TCA and TCR. TCA is a slower version of a TCR or different
platform slightly.
Yeah.
Just a little lower on the ladder.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's smaller motors, less tire, less tuning options on the car.
Okay.
And usually a little bit more of a base model car, I guess you would say. So we'll use the Honda as an example. The TCA car is an SI.
Yeah.
The TCR is a Type R.
Okay.
Right, so it's a slightly different point. Audi doesn't build a TCA car. Hyundai has a Veloster N for TCR, and then they have the Veloster, they call it the R line for TCA.
Oh, cool.
It's also more production based bodywork, no wide body, no additional aero.
Okay.
So TCA is much closer to what you see as a production car on the dealership floor.
I would say 90-95% of our Honda TCA car, you go to the local dealer and you buy the parts. The only thing that is not dealer based is the brakes, because they use Willwoods, some of the control arms, the cage, and the seat.
Okay.
Everything else, the motor, the transmission, the clutch, the drive shafts, the ball joints, the control arms, the front bumpers, headlights, like all that stuff, that's all OE parts that you go to the dealership and buy. Whereas
this is
TCR is
almost-
totally different.
Yeah, you got to like order that stuff from Germany or something.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah.
I've chatted with you guys in the past about like what has needed to be done to some of those TCR cars, and like that's nuts.
Yeah,
They're neat.
You're waiting for power plants
They're
and-
production based.
Yeah.
So the tub of a TCR car is based on a production car.
Uses the production doors.
Yeah, the production doors, production
everything
roof,
else.
trunk, hood, but everything else is carbon.
Okay.
Wide body.
Yeah, big wide body on it. The motors are sealed. TCA, the motors are sealed too. But it's a bespoke gearbox for the car. All of the suspension stuff is made for racing, not off the shelf parts. Some of the wheel bearings we use are off the shelf bearings, but that's about it. Even the headlights are all modified.
Yeah.
The grills are modified. The Audi rings on our TCR cars modified. So it's not.
Yeah.
It's just like flying a plane, right? You would start by flying a fairly small, simple plane, and then you get more advanced. You wouldn't jump straight into a fighter jet. And the maintenance that's required with all those additional systems obviously gets more complex as you get faster and more motorsport based, and more knobs to turn from an engineering perspective as well. Like you can engineer yourself completely out of the water if you make the wrong decision or if you don't understand your engineering philosophy.
In the TCR. The TCA. Yeah, the TCA has very few things to change. We have 2 sets of springs. Can't adjust the bars. You can play with ride height and toe. That's about it.
Set the toe, let it go.
That's exactly 100%. So we've been trying
cool.
to play with things like on our TCAs of how do we get this car to rotate and handle the way we want it to, but you don't have as many knobs to turn to kind of do that. So you have to think outside the box of what you would normally do in a race car, because a real race car would probably have things you can do to make it turn, do whatever you need to do. Now we got to think totally differently and do things that you're like, I would never do that in another car.
But you just need to find solutions.
Yeah.
You want to keep it simple, though. We understand the rationale. You want to keep it simple for drivers that are getting into an entry-level series and class. It keeps costs down. You don't need engineering the same way. You don't need to test as often. You don't need to tear the car apart and rebuild it between races, right? Longer service intervals. So it's good because the driver that's competing in that car is focused on their driver development, their racecraft. We now have a little more modern cars, Civics for Champ Car. We'll use the later 2000s FG chassis, a little bit longer wheelbase, a little easier to learn and develop how to rotate the car. On the 90s cars, there's short wheelbase. It can rotate fairly quickly. I'd still argue the hardest car in our shop to drive is those old hatchback Civics, just because they'll snap oversteer on you if you don't know what to do. But as drivers develop into the TCA cars, as they run the FG, there's not a huge difference between the performance capability of our FG Champ car and the SI TCA car. But the difference is, as a driver, when you go to compete, where are you competing? And in a Champ car race or a regional race, a little bit less pressure. You can test, you can prep. When you get into a series like FEL, we're going to Toronto Indy next. Now, Trevor has a bit of experience at Toronto from us driving or working with other clients and being around. But as a driver, you have a very short amount of track time to learn the track, get up to speed, figure out what changes you need to make. You need to focus on that as a driver. So with Trevor and Megan jumping into the Toronto Indy, we want to set the car up as safe as possible. We don't want that many knobs to turn.
Yeah.
Safe platform, learn how to compete in a really competitive series on a track like that with the extra pressure, no runoff room, right? Street race, additional fans, just how to manage all of that stuff. And I think it's important not to overload a driver with everything you have to think about that a TCR or a GT4 might have to think about.
That's wild. And with the Toronto Indy, like, you don't have much room for error. Like, you have walls on
There's
either
no
end.
runoff. It's concrete.
It's all concrete, and the concrete walls are very tall. So even when you're sitting in a car, it's not like you can see over the concrete wall around a corner.
You're in a tunnel.
You're in a tunnel. Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
That's cool. And you're racing in a TCA.
Yep.
Have you raced at all on that track? Like in the past?
Virtually.
Virtually? Okay.
Virtually.
So how was that virtually? Like what was kind of...
It's fun. You have to understand depth perception from a virtual standpoint. You have to get into an immersion factor. For myself, I do a lot of sim stuff. I haven't done a lot since I've had kids, but I'm a VR type where all the lights are out. You don't see anything else, so you can immerse yourself and you can look around the car.
Yeah.
From a VR perspective, the only tough part was because of the tunnel factor. It's seeing the depth perception and looking around to see where you need to go.
Picking up a reference point.
That's exactly it. Picking up your reference points of where your braking zones are. What are you looking for? So you can at least have an idea because when we do get there next week, Friday morning's practice is qualifying. We have no track time. So you have a 30-minute window, they call it practice qualify, to set your time for the races. And then you have 3 races. So you have no time to mess around. So it's between, almost every evening I've been watching some in-car video. Recently, because they changed the track slightly in the last 4 or 5 years, at least pre-pandemic, the pit lane was on the other side. So that section's changed a bit. But every onboard video I've watched is either an open wheel car or a pretty quick touring car. And now we're in very slow, I shouldn't say very slow, much slower touring cars. So you got to get your reference points. You got to kind of, what am I looking for? What buildings, where are the cutouts in the fences? There might be markers on the concrete walls. Maybe there isn't. Asphalt changes, concrete potholes, whatever. You're looking for things just to kind of, what am I picking up on? And then you kind of transfer that over to the sim. Okay, what am I seeing? Am I still seeing the same sort of things? Oh, I'm still going much slower. I'm going to roll through the gears, but I'm still only going to be doing 160, 170 kilometers, whereas everything else you're watching is 200 plus.
Yeah.
Because they haven't really had slow touring cars there, right?
That's crazy.
So there's little things like that I'm trying to pick up on.
And then we'll have the track walk Thursday night when we get there.
Okay, so
we'll do a track walk and look at the asphalt changes. Where are the bumps that you need to think about? What curbs you need to think about? What if it rains? Is there any paint areas that you need to try to watch in the rain?
How does the asphalt roll away?
Yeah.
Where are all the sewer holes that water can drain to? So where do you need to avoid? What do you need to get to? Because this time of year, with how hot it is, sure, we're gonna get a shower at some point.
Yeah, that's gonna be super interesting. Is that televised, that event, like the FE, the TCA stuff?
should be on a live stream.
Is
yeah,
it?
They'll have a
the
live
series live streams on their YouTube channel.
Okay, that'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, all these things we're talking about, that's what, when you go to a new race and a new track like that as a driver, you have to start thinking about that, do your homework ahead of time, and build that up. So doing it in a TCA is nice because it's not like you have to really focus too much bandwidth on making those adjustments on that car.
No. My guess is once we load here and we've made the changes to the car, the only changes we'll make to the car is tire pressure adjustments all weekend. Because there's not much else we can really do unless you touch something.
Yeah.
Your tire pressure adjustments, add fuel.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's a Honda. It's all
It's exactly it, right? You just change the oil every few thousand kilometers.
Make sure it's got VTEC.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that sounds like honestly an awesome weekend. Especially now that you're racing again this year.
Yeah.
And then you haven't raced in a while, right?
No,
If
not
I'm
really.
saying.
I've raced around in the Miatas locally. I've usually hopped in for a few drivers if they were away or sick or something.
Okay.
I've always hopped in the Hondas, like our champ cars, over the years doing them. But no, it's nice to get. I haven't raced competitively with chasing a championship, I think, since 07, 08.
Okay.
So it was kind of neat to kind of go, all right, let's give this a shot.
Think long term and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Nice. That's sick. So I just want to kind of start to close it up with what's next with TWOth Auto, because I feel like we've caught up with some of the history of it, but what's next with the group?
Wow, we got a lot of irons in the fire. Obviously, we want to continue racing. Our goal, even as brothers racing, is to compete at the Rolex 24 one day, to compete at Le Mans one day. Now, whether it's with our group of people, whether it's with our cars and assets, or whether it's we are supplementing another team, it doesn't really matter to us. It's just going as a TWOth Autosport organization to the events to compete. So that would be ideal. We have a few customers that would like to do that as well. So maybe that's something that, as we keep the trajectory of going in the same direction, we will all do it together. That's a goal of ours. There's more cars coming. There's always more new cars that are showing up. We have a few customers that have bought new cars that will be kind of neat when they show up.
You have like
GT4 cars, maybe some GT3 stuff. You might see some prototypes coming in the next year or two. There's some customers that are kind of growing in that sort of direction, and that's their goal and ambition, which is perfect. It lines up with what we want to do. Cool. We have property stuff that we're working on to build another shop. Hopefully that comes through because we're busting at the seams here. So we want to find what is the next level, what's the next step for us to have more space, to have more stuff that we own. Because when you're at Calabogie, you lease your location. Well, we want to invest in ourselves and put our own money down.
Yeah. No, that's
it's
fair.
just really the boring business stuff of trying to strategically position ourselves to be here for the next 20, 30, 40 years. And that's from day one, is building sustainability, building a business that can grow, can ebb and flow with economies, with COVID, right? To be shut down roughly for outdoor events for a year or two is a challenge. So just figuring out ways that we can vertically integrate our business and make sure that we can take care of a lot of those additional support systems that are required. As Trevor said, adding more cars. I think as a goal, it becomes a challenge to manage so many resources and spread so thin. So really trying to refine the development paths for our drivers. If they're looking to get to this point, let's build that straight trajectory for them, so that they're not going all over the place and getting lost. And that way we can, by doing that, you have a consistent ladder system. You can build proper spares, turnover cycles, service the drivers and the cars properly so that that driver has the tool that they need to be able to get the job done.
It's also training staff, training people on our end, right? Bringing up new people that maybe don't have a motorsports background, right? So having a good support system of people, because it's the people that help you execute all those goals and help you move through all these things. We've been fortunate. We've had some awesome people. We've had some people that have moved on to IndyCar and other forms of professional racing. So that's as shitty as it is to see those people go, because they were great for the business. it's neat to see them where they've gone to and going, cool, you've learned or you've honed your skill here, you've done whatever, now you're going to do bigger, better things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a blessing kind of to see that it works out, because it's no different than drivers. You've trained drivers and they've gone on to do other things. Now you're training crew members and mechanics and everything, and now they're going to do better things. So now you got to keep that pool of people kind of growing as well.
Yeah, developing the whole team. I mean, just managing a growing business is enough of a challenge, but teaching people stuff that are it's unique. You don't learn about motorsport stuff in school. No. So for us, I think it's important to be able to give back into the industry and the people that are trying to build and learn how to coexist and maybe get a full-time job in racing. Before, I don't think that was a possibility for a lot of people,
especially in the Ottawa area.
You'd have to go to Toronto, Montreal, or the States. So for us to build that, I think is going to be important. And again, as we continue to achieve our goals, we want to keep pushing up the homologated sports car ranks. As Trevor said, GT4, GT3, then you look at prototype stuff, LMP3, LMP2. I think it's achievable for us, but in order to do that, we need the infrastructure, we need the team, the partners to be able to do that. So next big steps are strategic thinking to make sure we're ready for that. And if or when that comes, we're in the right spot.
That's awesome. That's really cool to hear. I'm excited to see some prototypes around.
They're fun. We got to play a couple last year, which was a blast. And I mean, the Radicals are an incredible car. It's a great learning car to get into that. A rear-wheel drive, paddle shift, prototype. You're starting to introduce aero with mechanical grip. Calabogie is a great facility to be able to learn how to drive just with how technical the track is. So I think it's going to be a great learning platform to bring people into an LMP3 in a monocoque tub, closed cockpit, a little bit safer if anything happens, right, in a closed cockpit. So I think it'll be fun, and I'm excited to try to bring that into this market.
Yeah, that's wicked. That's so cool to see people from Ottawa doing some crazy stuff that we only see on TV, That's super cool.
And we've got a lot of talent in the Ottawa area. Like, if you look at where some people from Ottawa are currently racing and working in the motorsport industry, we have a lot of opportunity. So if we can build a development ladder, not just for drivers, but for staff members as well that want to experience this industry and feel like they have something to contribute to motorsport.
And it's sustainable.
You have a track here, a place to develop. We have to wear multiple hats. Yeah, we can't do the one job all day long and make millions of dollars, but that also helps refine a mechanic or a tech or anybody in the industry to know what's going on and doing those things. So I think we have a strong future ahead for the motorsport community here in the Ottawa area. Obviously, Calabogie is a big factor in making that happen. We need the place to go play, but we've got it now. I think the rest of the world is really realizing what Calabogie has to offer. And I think you'll see between the TWOths, Power Sports, Mortimer, all of the teams and the enthusiasts that are building and developing every lap, every race, getting better. We're going to continue to do this over the next decade. And I'm excited to see where the Ottawa industry really comes.
Yeah. And it's cool that I'm also growing with the industry as well. Like one of my passions is capturing automotive and motorsports production, like as we are doing right now. And it's really unique to see the come up of teams like from the Ottawa area. Like I didn't know Calabogie really existed until I drove up and I was like, what's a motorsports park doing in this random neck of the woods? Because I used to just drive the 511 for fun when I was younger. Because it's this fun, twisty road.
One of the best roads in Canada.
Yeah, and then I saw some signs. I was like, what the hell is this place? So I popped in one day and I sat on the platform of overlooking quarry. I'm like, there's a racetrack here. What the hell? And then that's when a couple of weeks later I bumped into you with the Porsche at one of your garages farther down, and then I met Trevor, and I was like, "This is sick. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
These are my people."
Motorsport stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Like talking about cars all day.
Yeah, like I used to play Gran Turismo so much as a kid. Like that's really what got me into it. My brother, and my dad was like, "Check out this game," and played at my uncle's place and whatever, and it was sick. Yeah, and then I blame them for all my financial issues. So, I got that on camera, so I'll share that with them. But yeah, I don't know, I'm excited to see what happens in the next 10, 15, 20 years in the sport. A lot of newbies coming in and learning about it, and it's just growing the sport even more.
Yeah, things like Drive to Survive, right? You have a whole new influx of people that are seeing and learning about motorsports, learning the behind the scenes of what really happens, not just what you see on TV. Yeah. And with social media too. I mean, the access people have to be able to understand what's happening when people like yourself or us start creating content to explain the mechanicals of what's going on, the physics. I think it's going to continue to bring more people in, and I think we should lean into that because it's a very welcoming community once you come in. It looks intimidating because there's a lot of shiny cars and everyone's working. Well, yeah, they're working, give them space. But as a group, I think everybody here at the racetrack is here because they want to be here. They're having fun. Most days you're having fun. Some days are bad, but you're having a good time and wanting to share that passion with people is really what it's all about. So I think we're in a good spot.
Cool. So where can followers or Instagram people, like YouTube watchers, like where can they follow you? Where can they find some content or updates on races and
TWOth Autosport? Pretty much anywhere. So we're on Instagram at TWOth Autosport. Our website is twothautоспort.com. We also have our store, Shopify store, of course, as twoth.shop, where we sell some of our merchandise, cars, services, some of our drivers, and then Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. We did a documentary series with Audi last year following some of our drivers called To the Front, and working on a weekly vlog right now that will be really just showcasing what it is we do, why we make these decisions, why we go racing in certain series, run certain cars. So yeah, we're online, very accessible. During the season, obviously it gets challenging. Sometimes we're more focused on building race cars and going racing. But again, thanks to the growing community like yourself, more people out here that can help create content. We're all kind of pushing in the same direction, trying to share this passion in this industry with people. So again, it's building that infrastructure to share that with everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to chat with me. I know you guys have some Miata races to attend to.
Miata and Libra. So radicals out tonight.
6 Miatas and 2 radicals.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, 8 Miatas, 3 radicals.
3 radicals.
3 radicals tonight.
Yeah, that's
got a bunch of stuff.
That's pretty rad.
It is. It's very radical.
If you ask me. Anyways, thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. I'm your host, Keishan Sondergaard. You can follow us on the Flat Tyre podcast on Instagram and the video portion that's posted to the Greasy Fix YouTube channel. So take a look and we'll see you next time.